Hello and welcome back to part 3 of my lockdown wrap up. This is the miscellaneous pile. I can say miscellaneous, I promise. This is the miscellaneous pile. This is the collection of books that were neither fantasy nor contemporary, and there weren't enough of them to fill up their own video, so I've just kind of lumped them all in together. I want to talk about them. Some of these are weird. Let's talk about the fact that I took part in the All the World's a Page readathon, and the prompts that I ticked off was essentially read a Shakespeare play that you haven't read before or was part of a genre that you weren't particularly fond of. So there's tragedies, comedies and histories. I don't really like the histories, but I really enjoyed this. Read a book that kind of influenced it, so the Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, which came before Shakespeare, and How to Study Shakespeare, read a non-fiction about Shakespeare. Now, I want to lump these all together because Shakespeare is a weird one, because I do really enjoy Shakespeare, but I tend to find that I like what he's created and what stems from his creations, as opposed to people trying to talk to me about Shakespeare. So what I mean by that is trying to read How to Study Shakespeare was really disappointing, because I thought it would kind of break down how to attack his work if you're trying to look at it in a critical way. But unless you're specifically studying the plays that are mentioned in this book, it doesn't really tell you how to do that. It tells you what to look for, but in the vaguest and broadest of terms, and I thought it was kind of rubbish. And I was really disappointed, because I think if there are people out there that are looking to study Shakespeare, it says how to study Shakespeare, and it doesn't actually tell you how to do that. There is no resource in this that I thought, as a teacher, from a teacher's perspective, I could take away and be like, that was really helpful. That would be really helpful for my students. I gave it 2 stars. So it kind of looks at Othello and Macbeth as the 2 tragedies, and I thought their breakdown of Macbeth was quite interesting, but it wasn't anything that I hadn't seen or studied before. So I've just tried to find something interesting to add, and I don't really have anything interesting. So I may drop this down to 1 star, but it was kind of pants. What I did like is the fact that I really enjoyed Henry V as a history. Now, this is essentially a very politically driven story, and I chose this because I was obviously reading Lady Hotspur as an audiobook. This is set just before it, so you've got characters in this that are then inspired Lady Hotspur. You've got a lot of really powerful scripts in this, and I really liked Henry's opening monologue, where he is basically insulting the French king for insulting him first. And I just thought it was really witty, really clever. And I really want to learn that monologue because I'm a nerd, so I might not. We'll see how nerdy I get. And then I did the Canterbury Tales as an audiobook as well, which I actually really enjoyed doing as an audiobook, because again, there's this wealth of history there, and you take these on and then you understand where references for everything else comes from. But I'm just going to lump those 3 together because I wanted to talk about the fact that I had read them and I was challenging myself, but they weren't my favourite reads, so they were on the list, so they got a mention. Something else that I read that was not my favourite read was Little Women. Now, I said when I bought this that I bought it because the cover is absolutely beautiful. I love that. She looks great, but if a classic hasn't got at least 1 ghost in it, is there even any point? Everyone's so nice to each other and everything's so wonderful and they're learning moral values, and if it's not gothic, I'm not interested, so I only gave this 2 stars. I know it's a lot of people's favourites and the film was really cute, but this isn't for me. Anyway, so a little contemporary classic that I did really enjoy was Animal Farm. Now, I haven't read this since I was a kid because we studied this at school, but I really enjoyed this. It's a really little short read. It's a really easy read, but you can just see the layers of political satire in this, and the fact that it's an allegory for the Russian Revolution and things like that. Really clever. The bit with the horse got me because it always does. It was weird because when you know something horrible is going to happen, you can feel your body reacting to it even before it's happened. So that bit got me, and I forgot that it doesn't have a happy ending, because of course it wouldn't, it's political, but for some reason in my mind I thought that eventually those who were in the wrong would get their comeuppance, and they didn't, so that was really hard. But I definitely rate this. If you're trying to work your way into classics and you're not really sure, this would be a really great place to start. Feminine Gospels and Still I Rise, two fantastically feminist selections of poetry. One very Western, where she talks about different gods, but they tend to be quite Western gods and Western women. Maya Angelou, who is obviously talking about a Southern American black experience, but both incredibly feminist and beautiful writings, and really, really lovely reads. Very poignant, very beautiful. And I guess after reading the Poetex and other verse stories, I just wanted some straight poetry, and these just hit the nail on the head. These were absolutely fantastic. Now, I read a few graphic novels, and that's kind of what I've got left. So we'll start with the ones that I know everyone will have seen and enjoyed. So we've got Saga Volume 3, 4 and 5. I didn't actually, like the first two I thought were epic, but 3 and 4 were kind of flat for me. 4 in particular, like 3 was okay, like it kind of develops the story and obviously some sad stuff happens. 4 I could have skipped entirely, to be honest. It just wasn't my favourite of all of them, and I don't know if it's just that the momentum just wasn't kept up because I enjoyed the first two so much, but 4 just fell flat for me. But then 5, again, maybe it's a comparison from one to the other. I thought 5 was absolutely fantastic and it went back up to the 5 stars for me. But I'm loving this series. I'm going to be keeping an eye out on any kind of image graphic novels, because there are a couple of other graphic novels that I've got in my TBR, like in my Goodreads TBR, that I would love to get to. I feel like they're a strong contender when it comes to graphic novels. I feel like I trust them now. Like I'm so far into this one and other image graphic novels that I've read that as a publisher I trust them, and I really enjoy these. Neil Gaiman's Coraline. Now, I really enjoyed digesting this as a graphic novel. Now, I knew the storyline because I've read the book before and I've seen the film, but I really liked the way it was broken up in this graphic novel. The artwork was kind of pants, but it was to tick off a prompt for the magical readathon, and it did just that. It was just a nice, easy read. The mother in this is so freaking scary. Like just her, like the way the artwork is around her face is just really, really scary. The pacing of it is quite nice, and it made me remember that actually, yeah, I do like graphic novels, and I do like Neil Gaiman because obviously I enjoyed Stardust as well. So we had a couple of Neil Gaimans over lockdown, and he did not fail to deliver. I've just realised this video is going to be like half the length of all the others because I've just steamed through these because there's not really much to say. I just kind of wanted to mention those last few things. The last two I want to talk about are the Star Wars graphic novels that I read. So I read Vader's Quest and the Rogue Squadron X-Wing Requiem for a Rogue. Now this I found kind of boring. I don't even really want to talk about it that much. It kind of reminded me of Firefly in that you've got a group of mercenaries who are dealing with stuff, but it was just, I just didn't enjoy the storyline of this. I thought it was kind of boring. But Vader's Quest should have really been called Vader's Having a Bad Day, because everything goes wrong for him. And what I found really interesting is he discovers who Luke is before Luke discovers who Vader is. So in the films you'll know that Vader is obviously the one that tells Luke who he is, that I am your father or whatever. And that's not obviously not how he says he is, I'm your father or whatever. But this is when he learns who Luke Skywalker is, and then sets about trying to kill everyone who might find out or might know, so that Palpatine doesn't know, because he knows. And what I like about that is the undertone of, he knows that if Palpatine knows that there's another potential Jedi and that his son survived, he will use him, but it's too late. And I thought that was quite an interesting plot point, added to the Star Wars universe in a way that I thought was really interesting and quite new, considering I've seen all the Star Wars films and I love all the Star Wars films, and I'm currently in the process of watching the Star Wars Clone Wars animated series, which I'm really, really enjoying, because again, it gives some fantastic background onto the Star Wars universe, but it's not directly a Star Wars story. It's not about Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is in this, but his storyline is the most boring storyline on the planet, so I just kind of glanced over it. But the actual Vader part of Vader's Quest I thought was really clever and really well put together, so I enjoyed that one. There were some other books, but I think I'm going to leave it there at the moment because, like I said, there's just so many of them. I'm looking at my pile as it sits on the floor, and it's excessive. So next month's wrap up will not be nearly as long as this, because I'm going to go back to doing monthly wrap ups. I did consider, if this went really well, that I would do seasonal wrap ups and just kind of wrap up at the end of every 3 months. This is a lot. This is too many. And I actually, my reading hasn't dropped since lockdown. My work has picked up, so I haven't had as much time for reading, but I'm still reading lots of audiobooks and I'm still reading lots of graphic novels. So hopefully I will still have plenty to talk to you about at the end of September. And then Gothtober shall be happening, and I want to do lots of reading over that. And I'm just really excited. I'm really excited. So yeah, Like I said, this video is obviously much shorter than the other two, but make sure you have seen the other two so you know my full list of books that I read during lockdown. What books have you read during lockdown? What was your favourite read of lockdown? Please let me know in the comments down below. And other than that, I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. My hands are already shaking.
These ones as well?
No, this is enough. This is too many. Please take them back. That'll do. Thank you very much.